Well, what's up, you beautiful people? Was that a good Gary impression?
Oh, gosh, I thought that was Gary. I was like, Gary, you look so much
What's
like
up,
Wil,
you
man.
beautiful people? What's up, brothers? Oh, man. So, as you can see, the bearded trio temporarily is the bearded duo. Gary had some stuff come up. He'll be hopping on soon, but welcome to the official NWA Powerrr post show. I am Wil Martin. This is Rob Stinson, the good doctor, and we are here to break down all the action from NWA Powerrr tonight. And Rob, I'm excited about it, even though we're down to a duo, and I do miss Gary dearly, and hopefully he'll be joining us here shortly. But Rob, what do you think of Powerrr tonight?
I'm like, man, what is this, like episode 3 of this season, and we're already in the thick of things, man. I mean, it's like, yeah. Holy cow. things are like coming unraveled at the seams for a lot of people. I don't want to say unravel, but there's lots of buzz, lots of movement going on involving everybody from Thunder Rosa to Serena, Deeb to Strictly Business to Tyrus and Jordan Clearwater. Obviously the War Kings, there's a lot going on there. We're going to go through it all tonight, man. Match by match, interview by interview.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's like, you're right. You said it's episode 3. I mean, I haven't even really thought about that, but it's really only 3 episodes into this season. We've only had 3 episodes of NWA Powerrr since When Our Shadows Fall, which was a giant, massive pay-per-view. And already so much has happened. Like When Our Shadows Fall seems like it was months ago because of all the things that happened. We're in the thick of a national title tournament. We now have the finals are set up, which we'll talk about in a little while. We've got a lot of buzz around the women's title, a lot of contenders coming out of the woodworks for that. And then we've got just other random stuff going on with Tyrus and Jordan Clearwater and Black G's, and who knows what's going on with all that, but we will get into it. So Rob, since Gary's absent and you are our master note taker, why don't you kick us off? How did the show start out? And walk us through the show and let's talk about it.
Well, let me start out by saying I want to welcome everyone into the post show who's here visiting. We got a lot of folks in there. I don't know what you can see on your computers over there on your technology. I don't really believe in technology, but I know we've got a lot of the old faithful in the crowd. We've got Mickie James in the house. We've got Polka Dot Pam, Spaceman Stiff from Beyond Infinity, Jedi Warrior, Tony Justice, Colin Stillman. I hope I'm not leaving anybody out here. Dan Weeks. We've got Al Olson, his first NWA show ever. Of course, our buddy TurboCast. JDW Willie Bowen. Stephen Bowen in the house. We've got Zahir, the producer. You know who that is, don't you?
Yes, sir.
I'm talking about one of the biggest artists one of the biggest upcoming, most enlightened artists in the world is joining us in the chat. You guys, Deb Housens is there representing the Nation show. Man, we got a lot of folks in there. I hope I'm not missing anybody else, in there, but make sure you guys stay active. Put your questions there in your comments. We'll make sure we spend some time with you at the end. And let's get into it, man. We start out at the podium with Kyle Davis and Strictly Business, and we get into it right at the top. I mean, it's like, are they trying to trigger me at the very beginning here or what, Wil?
I don't know, man. And I this is where I get scared because Gary's not here to balance you out. So I don't know what's going to happen here. Rob, I'm going to trust you to give us the rundown of what happened at this podium interview with Strictly Business as objectively as you can with the least amount of bias. You have to step in and try to do it as best you can. So what happens in this podium interview?
Well, the bottom line is right now we've got some serious.
That's not a good start. That's not a good start. Well, the bottom line is,
I'm going to be strictly academic. I'm going to be strictly academic with you. Okay. Strictly academic as I can get. All right. The bottom line is we've got serious national title controversy going on right now in the NWA. We saw the first qualifier last week in a fantastic match, and we have the second qualifier going on tonight. And that qualifier is involving none other than Chris Adonis, the former national champion, Thom Latimer, and Parrow. Now, obviously, the controversy here is you've got 2 members of Strictly Business in this match. So what's the deal there? I mean, do we have a balance of power issue? Do we have an unfair predicament set up against Parrow? Or really are Strictly Business given the disadvantage here? I think Camille raised a great point. Why are you going to put two of the biggest names in a qualifier match when these two guys should be in the finals? And I think she might be onto something there, Wil.
I think so, and it's really strange. I think we went back and forth on the show last week about what you just said. Was this a handicap match for Parrow, having to overcome two members of Strictly Business, or was this a recipe for disaster for Strictly Business? Because here's what I know, and I know we'll get into it when we get to the main event. But if I know anything about Chris Adonis and Thom Latimer, these are two high-level competitors. They both want to win, and they both want gold. They've made that very clear. So I just, in the lead up to this, I just didn't see either guy laying down for the other. Even when Thom Latimer mentioned last week kind of casually, he's like, oh, I could just lay down and you could pin me and blah, blah, blah. It's still just knowing what I know about those guys. They are super competitive. They train hard, they work hard, and they're at the top of their game. And I don't know. It could have gone either way. So based on that, interview, it seemed like they were sort of on the same page, right? Despite Camille's outburst about, the cards being stacked against them and them being in the same match. I mean, what did you think about it?
Come on, Wil. It's not an outburst. That is what I call righteous indignation. Okay. Chris Adonis. No, I'm serious. No, Chris Adonis addressed the elephant in the room at the top of his portion of the interview when he said, I am by all rights the legitimate national champion. And he is. He never lost that title, Wil. He never lost the title. They're in there fighting, contending for the championship that he never lost, okay? And then they want to try to spin it out like Nick Aldis is the one. Nick Aldis is the puppet master, but he wasn't pulling the strings on this match. He wasn't booking. He's not booking last I checked. You've got Conspiracy Corrigan, and I like how Nick Aldis said it, something I've been saying for weeks. Irish Pat Kenny back there pulling the strings, manipulating, trying to stack the deck against Strictly Business, which is what he's been doing week after week after week. So how do you account for that?
I could feel your anger when that conversation was happening, and you're like a whole state across from me, and I could feel it here in my home. So I'm not Gary, so I'm not going to come at you disagreeing with you completely, because I try to be down to earth and logical here, and be as objective as I can as a wrestling fan. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's a conspiracy. I respect your opinion, but you could look at it either way. That was the point I was trying to make earlier, is that, you could look at it as some kind of conspiracy. And I mean, if it was going to be them in the finals, they still would have had to face each other, right? So there's no way to avoid that. But at least in this situation, Strictly Business has a better chance of advancing in the finals. Am I wrong? As if it was just one of them against Parrow and JTG. You got a 1 in 3 chance. Listen, I'm not going to get all Scott Steiner on you and start talking about math, but you got a 1 in 3 chance. This one, you got a 2 in 3 chance. Is that not better odds for Strictly Business in the long run?
I think the problem, though, Wil, and you're missing the point that I'm trying to make, and that Camille made very eloquently, is we're about 8-9 different rows of injustice before we even get to this point. We're about 8 or 9 layers of injustice on the part. And let me say something while I'm thinking about it, about Kyle Davis shedding any kind of aura of objectivity in the media reporting that they've got going on in the NWA right now. He begins to kind of like weave the tale and spin the tale that Nick Aldis is somehow orchestrating this unfair 2-on-1 against Parrow. And then, of course, Chris Adonis corrected the whole narrative and said, this is not a 2-on-1. This is a triple threat match. That Nick Aldis had nothing to do with booking, okay? He had nothing to do with scripting, with writing contracts. That's not what he does. So I guess to your point, what I'm going to say is 2 things. One, we got 14, 15 layers, and every time we say this, I'm adding layers to it. We got about 26, 27 layers of injustice before we get to this point. And then we've got Kyle Davis sitting there spinning the narrative that, oh, Nick, here you go, Strictly Business against stacking the deck, 2 against 1. I'm like, what are you talking about? Stacking the deck? There's only one person stacking the deck in this company, and that's Conspiracy Corrigan. And that is the truth. And the point is that Chris Adonis should not be without the national champion. He should be the current national champion because he never lost the title in the first place. And that's all I'm saying, Wil. There should not even be a qualifier for anything because as far as I'm concerned, he's the national champion.
I mean, I get in a perfect world that would be a great scenario for Strictly Business, but when you relinquish the title in professional wrestling, you don't just get to pick it up a couple months later. So he's got to go through the process.
So you say that like we and everybody in the chat doesn't know why that happened, why we got to that point. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what I love about this business. It takes an intellect to understand. I mean, we're talking about high level diplomacy and the craft of politics going on here at all times. This is basically the living embodiment of Game of Thrones, man. That's what this is. That's what's going on right here. It's Game of Thrones. You've got all this subterfuge, all this deceit, all this tomfoolery going on behind the backstage in the front office of the NWA. Obviously, he's got a bone to pick with Strictly Business for some reason, and it's not going to stand. It's not going to last. And whatever happens in this match, I'm going to tell you right now, Chris Adonis made the point. He made a legitimate point. He is the rightful champion. And at the end of the day, when the dust settles, my bet is on first and foremost that Strictly Business walks out with that championship. But secondly, I believe it's going to be Chris Adonis. Might as well bank on that.
Well, because I can't do this on my own, thank God Gary Horne is here. Gary, please talk some sense.
Here we go. Man. Here we go. Here we go.
I don't know what Doc's problem is, but I bet it's hard to pronounce.
It rhymes with Schmircy Schmorgan.
It's fun trying to hear him like fit his entire vocabulary into one sentence or like one like rant. It's
First of all, I did not use presuppositional precondition of intelligibility. I didn't use that.
Oh,
I didn't use the apparent paradox of self-deception, which is what you guys are suffering from. I didn't say any of those things that make up the other 9 or 10 words in my vocabulary. So you can just stuff it, Gary. You might as well go back to whatever you were doing. I'd rather just deal with Wil.
It's fine, Rob. Stupidity isn't a crime.
It's much easier to deal with me.
Stupidity isn't a crime. You're free to go. It's okay. It's we're just you do your thing. Listen, I heard everything you said. If this is where we're at in the show, then this is good. It's better that I come in on the end of it, or we'd be stuck here for hours. No, we're at the opening segment, Gary. We're at the podium, Strictly Business. We haven't even gotten to the first match yet, so you haven't missed much. I meant the end of the opening with Strictly Business, because we'll have more to say about Strictly Business. But just to we will. Just to hear Doc like bend himself like a pretzel, like it's just incredible to explain Chris Adonis being in the situation he's in. So whatever. How about the War Kings in the back with May Valentine? Crimson asked for a grudge match here against Slice Boogie and it's no DQ, because ever since they've been back, Slice has been a thorn in their side, and he's there to take care of it. He's going to end this once and for all. And they asked Jax what his thoughts are, and he says he's just there to support his partner. You never leave your wingman. Which explains our friendship while we're still here somehow.
We're the 3 best friends.
Wil, you're the tag team guy, so like how you feeling about this? Do you feel did you notice a little side eye from Jack Stane? I felt like I did.
I did. It was very loud, in my opinion, noticing that. Like, that was the one thing I was watching the whole time was Jack Stane's expression. And I mean, it's well documented, Slice Boogie's interference with the War Kings going all the way back for the Attack, where he was in that fatal 4-way match with both of them, came out victorious. And then it seems like ever since then, it's been kind of unraveling, and he's been inserting himself, as Crimson said, into their business. And you're right, I am a big tag team guy, and I like the War Kings. And it's been really tough to watch them over the past season and 3 episodes not really be totally on the same page, because we talked about it a lot, but the tag team division in the NWA is stacked, and that is a high level tag team with a lot of history, and to see them not on the same page has been kind of disheartening. But Crimson comes out and he says, I'm going to end this, and I'm going to do it in the ring in a no DQ grudge match. And so apparently he straight up asked for it, and he got his wish.
Doc, I'm noticing, my mind goes back immediately to that big matchup that they had against Slice Boogie and Mims, where Jax took that suspicious fall and just laid out the entire match. Now I don't want to take Jack State as a tough man, which is both the reason I do and don't want to hypothesize that perhaps there was something more to that. But I mean, what are your thoughts there?
I think Jax took a hard hit there, and the man, as big a man as he is, he is human. He is immortal. Excuse me. It sounded like I said immortal. He is mortal, as most of us are, and as most of you guys are. And, I don't want to read too much into that. Although I will say, I did think of that. I was thinking of that very line or that very incident when he used the words, "You never leave your wingman." I was thinking of that. That came to mind. So I don't know. Again, I don't want to read too much into facial expressions. My grandmother was very keen on not interpreting body language because she would play tricks with us with her body language just to see if we were trying to read it. So, I don't want to read too much into that. But obviously, there's something going on there. There is some dissension, and it seems to me that Slice Boogie's right there in the middle of it.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, but we'll get to a little bit more of that as well. First, we got to talk about the fact that the Mystery Man made his in-ring debut tonight against Big Strong Mims, our boy, our friend of the show. Whatever you thought about the Mystery Man, I think a lot of people, Gally was with me. I was thinking maybe he's like Lucha style or whatever, because you think of the mask, and I guess that's just a common thing people think of, but it's not exactly accurate. Tim Storm quick to bring up the idea of the Assassins and Mr. Wrestling and all of those guys. That's what he was. He was more of that style. He was hard-nosed, just old school, rough grappling, forearms, tackles, just a solid wrestling match between Mims and the Mystery Man. And Mims tried again and again to mount a comeback on this guy, but as we know, Mims is a bit of a rookie, and I guess even though he's new to NWA, it sure doesn't seem like Mystery Man is. And he took it to Mims, and although Mims did deliver some fantastic-looking splashes there, and including the big strong splash, which I like that yell out. That's a cool move name if he's going to run with that. It just wasn't enough. Mystery Man hits a fantastic-looking Death Valley driver where he went all the way through with that thing, and he gets the 1-2-3 over Mims. There he is, the Mystery Man. We still don't know anything about him. Doc, I know you have the superior intellect. Do you have any ideas?
No, I wanted to point out, too, before I opine about Mystery Man and the next layer of conspiracy Corrigan's antics, because that's what this is. I would like to point out that Joe Galley referred to this particular Death Valley driver as the Cartwheel Death Valley driver. He had that little special little variation on it. Would look pretty sleek. I'm very impressed by Mystery Man's ability, but I'm very unsettled by who he is and what he means for this because as we heard the commentary team say, he's here specifically by invitation of President William Patrick Corgan. He knows why he's here and he alone. And I'm not feeling good about that.
Will, how do you feel about it? Do you feel like this is some huge conspiracy mechanism? I almost said conspiracy. That's how I feel like. That's Rob in a nutshell. Conspiracy.
Well, I'm surprised Rob's not calling you out for giving yourself away as part of the conspiracy with that little slip there. But no, this was I don't connect those dots when I think of the Mystery Man. I'm kind of thinking of it, unique to the situation. And if William Patrick Corgan's going to bring somebody in, and we don't know that he brought him in, but he's here, and only William Patrick Corgan knows who he is and what his goal is. But one of the unanswered questions about him is his in-ring ability. It was his in-ring ability. And much to you guys' point, we didn't know what his style was. I mean, you can't see somebody's face. It's harder to tell where they're from, what their background is, what their personality is like, which obviously impacts your wrestling style. And he showed himself tonight to be an extremely technical, well-trained, well-conditioned professional wrestler. And if you're going to come out and prove that, there's nobody better than Mims to come out there and prove it against. I mean, Mims is not a pushover. He's not a guy who, I mean, you mentioned he's a rookie. I mean, he may be a rookie strictly in the win-loss column or in the, matches fought column. But this guy is well-trained as well, and he is a well-oiled machine. And so to get a win over Mims is nothing to shake a stick at. So the mystery man, and I guess he's called the mystery man. Kyle Davis called him the mystery man, and he called him something else later. And, I don't think people even know really what to call him because he hasn't really told us what to call him. So he's the mystery man. But yeah, he came out and showed himself and proved his worth in the ring tonight. So, one step closer to, I guess, figuring out why he's here.
I think Kyle Davis called him the masked mystery or something like that.
Yeah. At first he was the mystery, and I like how he was going to go into a standard introduction because despite what the doc says, Kyle is a professional, and he was going to go into a standard introduction, and he said, from the mystery man, because I don't know where he's from. So I got a kick out of that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. Wanted to take a quick second. If you guys haven't already, we're from a show called This Is Pro Wrestling. We have a YouTube channel, youtube.com/This Is Pro Wrestling. We'd love it. Anybody who's watching right now, if you haven't already, go subscribe over there. We're going to be picking up with a lot of history of pro wrestling and a lot of different stuff. We think you'll dig it. If you'll check us out there or on a podcast feed at This Is Pro Wrestling. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. And so just want to throw that out there. We're at TIPW Show on all the social medias, and you can see our individual tags there. So just a cheap plug for our show. Also, stay tuned because we want to get to your thoughts in the comments, especially about that big Mickie James announcement today. I don't know if you guys have even talked about that yet. Okay, so we'll get to that at the end of this. Let's run through the rest of the show. But Mickie James on her Instagram, if you guys missed that, she had a big news announcement. So we definitely want to cover that and see what you guys think about that opportunity that's presented itself. But until then, let's move along in this show. And we're talking about Jordan Clearwater and Black G's versus the Great American Smash Tyrus, who, of course, always has Austin Idol right alongside him. And so G's has been saying he has a plan. And he tried to talk to Tyrus. It didn't work. He sent Jordan Clearwater to talk to Tyrus. Finally worked in that Jordan Clearwater would not leave him alone. And Tyrus said, I'll meet you, but in the ring. And so here they are. They've got to meet in the ring. G says he has a plan for this. Clearwater seems a little unsure when they're talking to Kyle at the podium, but there you go. Both men get in the ring. Here comes Tyrus. For what it's worth, Austin Idol and Tyrus seem unfazed either way. They seem not bothered by this situation, and they're just there to handle business. So the match starts, and G's presents his plan, which is apparently to lie down in the middle of the ring. Now, Clearwater is anti this concept at first, but eventually, after some negotiation and discussion, arguments perhaps, he's convinced, and he lies down next to G's. Tyrus pins both men for, as Joe Galley put it, the easiest payday of his life. So the winner here, Tyrus, in this handicap match. So I got to ask, Will, is this the whole plan for Black G's? And if so, what is this accomplishing? What did you think of this?
Yeah, I have no clue. I don't know what the plan is. I don't even know how him and Jordan Clearwater have become associates in all of this. But I mean, I will say this about Black G's. He seems very determined, whatever his plan is, whatever his business proposal, as they keep calling it, is. He seems very determined enough to actually step into a ring with Tyrus, which is dangerous no matter how many people you have on your side. And to do that and to lay down. And I guess his whole purpose was they got his attention, and maybe now, maybe he's taking baby steps. He's like, first we just got to get on his radar, and then maybe he'll talk with us. And so I don't quite know what the strategy is or what the end goal is, but yeah, tonight was definitely a head scratcher. And Jordan Clearwater, obviously wanted nothing to do with laying down in the ring. If we know anything about Jordan Clearwater, he's an incredible athlete, a great competitor. He's had matches against the real world's champ, Nick Aldis. And so, I mean, this is no, he's a young guy, but he's no kid. He's been around, and nobody who's a competitor wants to lay down and take a loss. And so I don't know what's going through Clearwater's head, but maybe they got his attention and maybe they'll get something out of this. I don't know.
It's going to be interesting, Rob. I mean, you're the expert on the morality of folks in the NWA, I think. Should Clearwater be trusting right now?
I'm sorry. What did you say, Gary? You broke up there at the very last.
Well, I was just asking if you thought Clearwater should be trusting G's right now. Does he seem like the best guy to put your faith in?
Well, G's, he says that in order to be successful, you got to have two things: confidence and a plan. Obviously, he has both. He's very confident. He doesn't mind boldly asserting that confidence and that plan right there in front of Austin Idol and Tyrus. And he was able, evidently, to get Jordan Clearwater to go along. So there's something to be said for that. I don't like people laying down. Say what you want about me, and I see the judgment over both of y'all's faces every time I speak. But I don't like. I think that's in poor taste to lay down. However, I'm going to give G's the benefit of the doubt on this. This man's got his plan, and if the plan is to get the attention of Tyrus, as Wil said, then maybe he's on the right track. We'll see. Time will tell.
It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out for sure. Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb joined Kyle at the podium in our next segment. Of course, the discussion moves to who should be the number one contender for Camille. Obviously, Deeb wants her rematch that she should be owed. Thunder pays her respects but says, no way. This is all me. It belongs with me. And you haven't earned it. Serena Deeb says she's been carrying the company. Thunder Rosa says, who was carrying it before you? That whole thing. So not off to a good start with these two ladies in this discussion. Kyle tries to move the discussion to the future of women's professional wrestling and who these women see a bright future in, who they would like to give the rub to. Serena Deeb welcomes Kylie Rae, who is, for lack of a better way of putting it, very excited. Kylie is, and she's a very sweet girl and super pumped to be there. Thunder Rosa says her person never gives up, and for this one, the sky is the limit. So, of course, her pick is Melina, apparently walks out. And no, clearly not. Melina is already a legend and does not need the rub from Thunder Rosa. So everybody naturally is very confused by this scenario. Anyway, Thunder Rosa actually was referring to Sky Blue, who finally gets to come out as well. So here's Sky. Sky's unhappy with being disrespected, naturally. Melina doesn't really tone any of that down, saying that none of these women can hold a candle to her and Thunder, and they don't really deserve to be there anyway. Serena says, that's it. Anytime, anywhere, I'm ready to take you on. And Thunder Rosa says, stop taking my shine, and some other choice words, and shoves Serena, and then everybody brawls, and that is that. Doc, how did this make you feel in your heart?
We've said this, I think, the last 2 or 3 weeks, man. It's like you just woke up one day, and now you've got the best women's division in pro wrestling. And this isn't even all of them. This is just 5 of them, They're on the same platform, right there before that same sacred podium, as George South would say. You've got Melina, Thunder Rosa, Serena Deeb, Sky Blue, and Kylie Rae. And I could go on and on about all 5 of them. I love all of them. I think Kylie Rae is adorable. As much as I typically wouldn't like her approach and her mindset, I think, wrestling, to be successful, you have to have a certain killer instinct, and I don't know that she has it. But she's just a joy to watch, and I can't help but like her and like sentimentally want to pull for her. But then again, you've got, Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb, both former NWA World's Women's Champions, holder of the Berg. Both have done great, honorable service to this company. Both have a legitimate claim at being the number one contendership. One, because Thunder Rosa has paid her dues time after time. She had a magnificent series of matches with Camille, the current title holder. Serena Deeb was the most recent title holder. They both got a legitimate claim. The only way to settle it is in the ring. But now we're getting into this question of who is the top prospect going forward. And I think Melina raises a good point. She doesn't need the rub from anybody. Obviously, Thunder Rosa wasn't talking about her, but Melina is a legend in her own right. Melina might have Mickie James implications written all over her when it's all said and done. I mean, she's at that level. You know what I mean? And then, of course, Sky Blue, who is, if we have ever in our collective lives seen a prodigy, it's either Kenzie Page or Sky Blue. These women are phenomenal athletes, and to see them all 5 out there, it just makes me really optimistic about the direction of this company and the women's division in the NWA. Lots is made about women's divisions here and there and whatever, and that's all great. I'm all for it. But right now, when it comes to tag team wrestling and women's wrestling, guys, I'm just going to shoot straight. This is not me. I don't have to say this. I'm not on anybody's payroll or anything. I'm just a fan, man. The NWA is where it's at. That's the truth. Facts.
Rob's been on TikTok. Facts. No, I agree 100%. And I'm sitting here thinking it wasn't that long ago, and this is no shade on anybody by any means, but it wasn't that long ago where in the NWA there was a clear top of the mountain in the women's division, and there still is. Camille is the champ. She's at the top of the mountain, no doubt about that. But there was just a very clear kind of pecking order. I mean, they're you knew who the number 1 contender was. You knew there was some other folks involved. But now, as we could see tonight during this segment with that crowded podium surrounding poor Kyle Davis, who seems to be in the middle of all of this stuff, there's the women's division is stacked, man. And honestly, it could go any direction. I mean, we've got legends in Melina, Mickie James, Serena, Deeb. We've got, incredibly conditioned, well-trained, top of their game athletes like Thunder Rosa. And then we've got, and in the next segment, we'll get to even more women, because not even a fraction of the women's division was at the podium, and there was still more to be said. But yeah, I mean, it's, and Rob, when you and I talked about this at the beginning of the show, this was one of the things that stuck out in my mind is, we're coming off of When Our Shadows Fall. We're only 3 episodes in of this season, and there's already such a stacked women's roster that not only does it make sense that we're headed towards an all-women's pay-per-view at Powerrr on August 28th at the Chase Ballroom, but what's going to happen with the current women's title picture? Who's going to make their way, crawl, scratch and claw to the top of that mountain? And, Camille's got her hands full, to be honest. I mean, she's already got her hands full with, legends like Serena, Deeb, and Thunder Rosa, who are coming, for that title, and they want it back. And, but, right behind them is a very formidable lineup of wrestlers in the NWA.
Yeah, I mean, one of the people we're talking about right here, when we're jumping in on talking about the women's division, of course, like you said, Powerrr coming up, NWA 73 coming up, all from the Chase Ballroom, August 28th, 29th, 30th, and 31st. It's going to be a huge, huge week in wrestling. But when you think about Powerrr, one of the strongest competitors in the NWA women's division, besides Camille, when you want to talk about pure powerhouse muscle, you can't get by without thinking about Genocide. And I saw Willie Bowen mention her in the chat, like, where's Genocide at? Well, she was right after this, along with Terrell, who also is unforgettable just because she's lovely. But Terrell is standing with Genocide. May Valentine interviewing the both of them. And Taryn says she has a message for Thunder and Serena, who are apparently spending too much time in AEWE. And so that was, they said they were out there picking their people, and they've apparently slept on Genocide, and that's their mistake, because she's like a hard pillow. And when you wake up, you'll realize you didn't sleep a wink. And so I get it, I guess. And so anyway, I don't know. What does this mean, guys? Is Taryn mentoring Genocide now? And what does that mean for Genocide? I don't know.
Yeah, this was just out of left field for me, man. I know we had a couple of weeks ago Genocide restoring order at the coronation of the new women's champ Camille, which was kind of a surprise. And now we've got Genocide, standing with Taryn Terrell, who's speaking for her now. So I don't know what that's all about. She's absolutely right. Nobody should be overlooking Genocide. And I actually had that thought when I was watching, those other ladies get into it at the podium. I was like, this isn't even everyone. You still got somebody like Genocide sitting there. You've got Alex Gracia. You've got people that we've seen in the NWA over the past year that aren't even at the podium. But yeah, I mean, Genocide, that's a great point. And she's been very visible lately. She's been very dominant lately. So what does that mean if they're sleeping on her now? Is she going to assert herself at some point. Who knows?
You guys have heard me say it before. I can't say enough good things about Genocide. I think she's going to be around for a long, long time. She's one of my absolute favorites. But another thing I wanted to point out here, don't let Terrell's demeanor and her bubbly outlook fool you. This is a clever, crafty competitor right here. She's got something up her sleeve, and she is very deliberate, and she knows absolutely 100% what she's doing. I promise you.
Well, and we saw that 2 weeks ago when she got a victory over Lady Frost, who was debuting, and as Rob would say, a chess match of a wrestling match. And so yeah, she's definitely strategic. She definitely knows what she's doing, and so I think her, pairing up with Genocide, whatever that means, is definitely a strategic move that's smart on her part.
I would be remiss if I didn't point out Nathan's point in the chat here that he's bringing up that Camille, Taryn, and Genocide all seem to be circling one another, and that's an interesting point too. We've seen Taryn; she's made associates so far, and it has been arguably the two most powerful people in the women's division. So Taryn's definitely got some folks on her side. We've seen her like side by side with Camille last season, and here she is standing side by side with Genocide. So who knows? I think I'm with Doc on this one. She's a little quicker than a lot of people are ready to give her credit for. She's got plans, and I don't know if Black G's has plans, but I know Terrell's thinking about something.
Right, and we saw. Speaking of circling one another, we saw Genocide salvage the coronation ceremony of Camille. So he might be onto something. That's a really good point. I didn't think of that.
Yep, that's all true. So then next up, we've got Crimson versus Slice Boogie, the grudge match. We've been waiting for it, and no DQ. And I got to tell you, it's a vicious battle. Like, honestly, there was a fire inside Crimson I feel like I've not seen before, at least on NWA Powerrr. Like, I mean, he's always tough. He's always, he's like the Terminator. He gets something in his sights and he starts going for it. But this time there was like some anger behind it and some viciousness aside of him that I just feel like we haven't gotten a chance to touch on yet in NWA Powerrr. And he's taking it to Slice. And Boogie's able to fight back some, but Crimson is more determined than we've seen in a long while. And honestly, it's just really scary. That's why I keep bringing it up. And he hits the Death Valley driver on they call it a Death Valley driver, but he had like some kind of twerk on that thing too. And it was kind of interesting. He hits that and Slice is done. He could go for the 1, 2, 3 right here. But no, Crimson is not done with him and goes out and grabs a chair, comes back in. It's no DQ after all. And he gets back in the ring, but he's stopped by Jack Stane, who calls him back over and says, "You don't need to do this. This is too much. It's unnecessary." Finally, he convinces Crimson to drop the chair. Crimson hits another one of his variations of the DVD and gets the pin for the 3 count. And your winner, Crimson, getting a big victory over Slice Boogie, one of the hottest, fastest rising stars in NWA Powerrr. Crimson asserting his dominance still on the roster. So, Doc, I'll throw to you. What do you think about this match, and what do you think's up with Jax, like calling off the dogs, and how'd you feel about this whole situation?
Well, what you got right now is a situation where Crimson is not bound by tag team implications. I know Will likes to talk about tag teams, and I think the broadcast team mentioned how historically the War Kings have been one of the most focused and promising tag teams until all this business with Slice Boogie came to the forefront of everything. But you don't see Crimson weighed down by that. You see Crimson unleashed tonight. We see the full potential, not even the full potential, because as you pointed out, Gary, Jack Stane intervened to prevent Crimson from unleashing his full wrath of devastation, which would have been a very bad thing for Slice Boogie, and which would have been a very bad thing for the NWA, because we don't need to see this, guys. You know where I stand on stuff like this. I'm about law and order. I'm about integrity, honor, by the book, gentleman's rules, and I appreciate Jack Stane for intervening to stop the unnecessary antics on the part of Crimson. The man's down. Let the man be down. Get your pinfall. You get your win, and you move on. You fight another day. Slice Boogie is a competitor. He's an athlete. I don't know what's going on between the three, but we can't have people going in there just ruthlessly beating up on people and using weapons and stuff like that. I mean, that's uncalled for in the business of pro wrestling, in the sport of pro wrestling.
You'd be really anti anybody like running out to the ring with a steel chair or anything like that, no matter who they are.
Okay, first of all, there are many errors of fact and fallacy behind what you're saying right now, and I don't want to get into that right now. I'm certain sometimes a man's got to correct. Sometimes a man's got to speak truth to power with a steel chair. Okay, but that's not the situation. That was simply
if I'm understanding you correctly.
Let's move on to Wil. Let's move on to Wil. You heard, I said what I said. Everything I say, that's the difference between me and you, Gary. Everything I say in the plain light of day for the whole world to see. You like to speak in riddles and clues and metaphors and your cinema shock and all your stuff like that. That's not me. I'm plain spoken. So
nice.
Let's throw to Wil.
Nice one. Yeah, check out Cinema Shock. It's Gary's movie podcast. Nice plug there. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
We alluded to this earlier when we talked about Crimson revealing that he requested this match, and but I don't think we grasped at that point how the implications of this. I mean, we see a guy, Crimson, who he is a man possessed in this match. We don't know all the details of what's going on. We know, like we said, Slice Boogie has inserted himself into their matches, some of their tag matches, and cost them the tag titles, as we later found out that he was the man behind that mask. So that's definitely something that's weighing on Crimson. But what didn't compute is why that doesn't seem to have the same effect on Jax Dane, which is what we were talking about earlier with these looks and things like that. So again, we don't know all the details, but there's definitely something going on there. There's an imbalance of aggression in the War Kings, where you've got Crimson, who's really upset at the way Slice Boogie has interjected himself into their tag team, and then you've got Jax Dane, who seems to have a conscience or something like that and be on a different level. So this is kind of a theme. We've been seeing this with our tag champions, Kratos and Aaron Stevens, who have seemed to finally get on the same page as of late, but it's definitely been an issue with them. And now we're seeing a similar issue with the War Kings. So, Crimson had the match won several times, but obviously wanted to inflict pain. And whether you agree with that or not, he's a man that he was out for vengeance and was trying to get it. So
well put. And hopefully I see Nathan in the chat pointing out, hopefully this is a chance of cooler heads prevailing. I hope so too. I hope this is something they can work their way past, and this is just an understood, like, all right, you've proven your point, and let's move on and refocus as a team. And so I guess we'll find out as we progress here how Jax and Crimson choose to proceed. Next up, Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens joined Joe Galley at the commentary position to watch the qualifier for the national title. Aaron's chair, unfortunately, is broken. Or obviously he weighs a lot more than Velvet, but there's Wil doing his fist, Aaron Stevens. And so that was great. And legit, by the way, having an opportunity to be in the studio for these shows, it was definitely, there was a point where he got a crate, I think he was sitting on, and there was, but he just, he rolled with it. That's improvisation. That's what you learn at all his fancy acting schools, I guess. So here we go. We got
the show must go on. The show must go on.
That's it. So Parrow takes on Chris Adonis and Thom Latimer in a triple threat. The winner of this match advances to face JTG for the National Heavyweight Championship of the world. that was almost like Doc's Tennessee. Nobody's going to get that. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so clearly,
May Valentine would get it. May Valentine would get it. So
she would get it. So clearly this is strictly business pounding on Parrow for most of the matchup. I mean, that's, they wrestle a bit here and there, but they keep returning to beat on Parrow when he gets into the ring. They eliminate him, which, granted, Doc, I know what you're going to think. You're thinking that's me picking on strictly business, but it's not. I'm just saying that's strategy, right? Like that's what you do. And so I'll give you that. If it was any of us teamed up, or all three of us, and Parrow was across the ring from us, I would hope that we would all do the same, because Parrow is a very large, scary man. And you definitely want to get rid of him as quickly as possible. So anyway, the size of Latimer and Adonis, you would think, would be enough. The strength combined of those two men would be able to take out most men, most tag teams, let alone most men. But Parrow, my God, Parrow fighting back with these two guys and coming in and almost has him, like hits a Parrow driver at one point on Latimer. Adonis is barely making the save. And it finally takes Chris Adonis and Thom Latimer taking Parrow up to the top rope and delivering a double superplex onto Parrow to put him down. Latimer says, "I'm going for a moonsault," which, by the way, just another credit to these men. We know that Latimer can do a moonsault, which is just also insane. So anyway, Latimer goes up for his moonsault, but as he climbs to the top turnbuckle, Adonis sneaks in for the pin, gets the 1, 2, 3, and he advances into the national championship match. And Thom looks perturbed. He is very disappointed, but they do leave together. I will give them this. They do manage to talk it out and have one of those conversations of like, you do the same to me, and you did it already. Like Thom had tried to steal a win earlier in the match. So I guess business is business for Strictly Business. But, Wil, I'm going to throw to you first, because that way we'll, at least get to you.
That way Rob can talk us. Rob can talk us out after that.
Yeah, I was going to say, so at least get to you in the show. We'll throw to Wil.
Yeah. I wish there was a way to mute someone's video so I couldn't see Rob reacting facial expressions to everything I say. But I thought this was. There you go. Thanks, Rob. But I will give respect where it's due, and Adonis and Latimer are professionals, and when Parrow was down and out on the outside, they went at it like any two competitors would do. They didn't go after him while he was outside the ring, which I'll say that's commendable. But yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said, Gary. Any two people in the ring with someone the size and ability of Parrow, hopefully you would team up and try to go after him together, because that's really your only hope of overcoming him. And so that's what they did. And I remember there was a couple of times where Chris Adonis looked at Latimer and was like, what do we got to do to put this guy down? Like, he just was not going down no matter what they did, even double teaming on him. So that's to Parrow's credit. He definitely deserved to be in that match. He's made his presence known, both as a tag team and a singles competitor. But yeah, there was some instances here where it didn't seem like they were on the same page. And definitely the way that Adonis got the win, I'm not going to say it wasn't clean. It was definitely clean, but he, there was a little bit of trickery involved there, which, in a game of chess is not frowned upon. And so, I mean, if everybody is of the same belief that Doc is, and that is that Chris Adonis never lost the title, then he should have won this match. And so Thom shouldn't have a problem with it. And, we're going on to the finals against JTG, and we'll see if he makes good on that claim. But, the match is what it was. And I'm sure Thom was, again, being a competitor, was disappointed, because you don't go into a match like that with title implications and be excited about a loss. So I'm sure as a competitor, he was a little disheartened, but it didn't seem to cause any kind of rifts or anything. So I guess time marches on.
Yeah, Doc, I mean, I know this is hard for you to believe, but I actually, just so you know, I can be fair, I did agree with this. And I even believed what Nick Aldis said at the beginning. I thought he had a point that, he didn't make this match in the first place. Now, do I think it was conspiracy Corgan? I don't follow him all the way down that rabbit hole. I think it's a match that was made, and I think that all three of these men were worthy challengers for the national championship. So it very much made sense for them to all three be here. But I don't think that Strictly Business teaming up on Parrow was out of left field or should be frowned upon, because I think that any other two men, as Wil pointed out there, any two men would do exactly the same thing probably in that given scenario. So I just wanted to throw that out there, Don.
Wow, my breath is taken away at that. What do you? Oh my gosh, Gary, an intelligent point. I think you're being self-deceived if you don't see Conspiracy Corrigan's hand on this. However, I appreciate the point that you're trying to make. I've got 4 or 5 points I want to make. I'm going to try to run through it real quick. First of all, a point about objectivity in the broadcast teams here in the NWA. And it stops no short of Kyle Davis, who introduces Thom Latimer as the maniacal king of all evil. Oh, really? Is that right? That I don't know where that came from, but evidently he's that shows you where his bias lies.
Thom Latimer has always been referred to as the king of all evil.
First of all, don't interrupt me.
Okay.
And B.
And point B, yeah. So, that's neither here nor there. The point is, it's not for Kyle to say that. If Tom wants to say that, let him say it. That's not for Kyle to place that judgment on him. Secondly,
fact and fallacy.
The strategy. Yeah.
See,
secondly, I want to point out something here. I've got to say something about the fascination of listening to Aaron Stevens and Trevor Murdoch talk about their own national title match. And how I think Aaron makes the point that he wasn't pleased with the way that Adonis won it, but then again, he wasn't pleased with the way that Trevor won it. And it just took me back to, we're in the midst of the shutdown and this and that, and we're watching Aaron Stevens with all that intensity at that point, going up against Trevor Murdoch, who had the everything to fight for. And I think it was a nice treat to see them make that little reference. I think in the Cinema Shock industry, you guys call it Easter eggs or whatever. That was a nice little Easter egg, a little treat they threw out there. 3.3, I have to agree with you 100%, and I'm freaking going to hate myself in the morning for saying this, about the strategy, Gary. I think this was a brilliant strategy, and I think anybody would have done that. It was completely fair. But I think on the flip side of things, this really debunks the myth that somehow there's some nefarious workings there among Strictly Business, some sort of, conniving and some balderdashery going on to try to, cheat people out of their fair due. You had a triple threat match that Strictly Business and Nick Aldis had nothing to do with arranging. And you had Thom Latimer and Chris Adonis play a fabulous chess match and then compete against one another. So it's like, it reminds me of, and here's another, I hate to say Easter egg again, but for you Cinema Shock fans and you media fans.
What is up with this?
Well, I think about like Reno 911, right? Reno 911. Remember Terry? The character that's always on the roller skates, and he's always got these fantastic, unbelievable stories. And then when you get to Reno 911, the movie, you realize he's been telling the truth the whole time. And so at the end of the day, when it comes down to Conspiracy Corrigan and Irish Pat Kennedy and Gerrymander Joe Galley being behind all this, and Chris Adonis, Thom Latimer, Nick Aldis being the victim, it's going to prove out to be another Terry, basically. Everything, you're going to be like, doggone, Stinson was right the whole time. And the proof in the pudding is right here. It's right before your eyes. Look at Chris Adonis and Thom Latimer go at each other in gentlemen's competition for this prize. Now, at the end of the day, did Adonis see an opening that he took? Yes, he did. Would Thom Latimer have taken the same opening? Of course he would have. That's just competition. That's just the fair market of sports playing out right before our eyes. And then my fourth point, did I have a fourth point? Was that my fourth point? I don't know. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Guys, from here on out, everything that I tweet between now and until I'm satisfied that this conspiracy is exposed, I'm going to tweet on every one of my tweets. I'm going to give up how many characters do I get, Will, in Twitter?
They keep changing it. I think it's 200 now.
You're the SPO guy. Or SRO guy, whatever.
SRO.
I'm going to give 11 characters of every one of my tweets to this tweet, and you guys that are with me, you feel free to join in. #the fix is in. #the fix is in. That's what I got to say.
All right.
Whew. All right.
So that runs through the show. Now, guys in the chat, we want to hear from you, not just Tony and Deb talking about Zima as they are in the chat. It's funny. I was thinking Rob is the Zima of podcasters. That's what that's how I thought. But it's yeah. Anyway.
Some people like Zima.
Another movie reference that no one gets.
All right. We want to know what you thought about Powerrr, so feel free to bring up your points before we wrap up. Too, we got breaking news. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see Mickie James' Instagram reel today. She dropped maybe it was a live chat. I don't know. I'm not the SPO guy, so I don't know which one this was. But the Mickie James announced on Instagram she was just feeling super grateful today. She had a lot to talk about, but the big points that she made were point one. Well, actually, there's 3 points. Point one was her new single's coming out. She's working on that, so that's happening. So you got to check that out. Number two, you gotta check out NWA 73 as well as Powerrr, because if you're a fan of Mickie James, not only is she the executive producer on Powerrr, the all-women show from the NWA, she has announced officially she will be competing in ring at NWA 73. And her opponent, well, that's announcement number 3. She hasn't decided yet. And she is asking for you to tell her, who do you want to see Mickie James face at NWA 73? Nobody's off limits. All options on the table. And especially if you're somebody out there that you don't feel you've gotten the proper recognition, if you think you've got what it takes and you want to step in the ring, she is looking at everything. Send your best matches, your best promos, send your best video packages, whatever you got. Mickie is asking you to personally send it to her to show her why you should be the person she battles in the ring at NWA 73. And she is giving you that opportunity at MickieJamesProject@gmail.com. You can send anything you want Mickie to see right there. And she promises that she is going to take a look at it for Powerrr and for NWA 73, because she's looking for the best of the best to make her return match with. So here's your opportunity, people. If you got somebody, if you know a woman out there who's wrestling right now that you think deserves that credit, make sure they know that. They got to send this to Mickie James and get themselves, if not in the ring with Mickie James, but at least on Powerrr. You got to, there's never been a better opportunity right now for brand new wrestlers to step up and show what they've got. Anyway, guys, I don't know if you saw that, but I just wanted to bring that up. Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I already sent Rob's promo reel in there. I really hope he gets that match, and it's the Doc versus Mickie James at NWA 73. But secondly, point B, this is huge. This is big. I mean, you've got a legend Hall of Famer Mickie James who is basically putting out an open challenge, saying, show me what you got. You know, never before has anything like this really officially happened, where someone the caliber of a Mickie James has said, hey, I want to fight the best of the best that's out there, even people that are undiscovered. So send me what you got and we'll make it happen. So that's awesome. It adds a whole new layer of excitement to an already exciting, weekend of wrestling coming up.
Instead of saying, this would be a great opportunity to see Mickie James against Bloodsport champion Lindsay Snow or something like that, you decide to take the opportunity to try to drive a wedge between myself and the Aldis family, which is what you guys seem preoccupied with doing all the time. I think this is a great thing. Before you jump in here, Gary,
I was just going to say, pardon us for thinking you draw. I guess you don't.
Yeah, sorry, man.
Got more confidence in you than you have in yourself. I don't know.
See, now you feel bad. He's a little flattered. He doesn't know how to feel.
I'm like, yeah.
I guarantee you there's some people in this chat right now who would pay good hard cash to see Mickie James whip that ass.
2 of them are on this screen. Hello.
Oh, man. All right. So I may have students in here right now. So at any rate, I think this is a fantastic. Again, I think that this weekend in St. Louis is shaping up to be one for the ages. With NWA 73 and of course NWA Powerrr. This is the greatest time to be alive if you're a women's wrestler. The sport is more vibrant than it's ever been for you. And really, man, the sky's the limit. Who could it be? I've got my personal favorites that I like to see in there. I mentioned one earlier, but who knows? I think that this is shaping up to be something that people will be talking about a century from now.
Yeah. So the obvious names come up. I mean, we see it even in the chat right now. Tony mentioned Thunder Rosa versus Mickie James. Book it. Nathan agrees. He'd buy Doc versus Mickie. Todd's agreeing on Thunder versus Mickie. And Jedi saying he wants to see Mickie James versus Deonna Purrazzo. So that could also be on the table. Hey, they've had interactions back and forth on Twitter. Mm-hmm. So they've been talking some smack. Yeah. And I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Yeah, Nathan also saying put the title on the line. I don't know if you're talking about Camille, but that's if you believe in the conspiracy Corgan theory, then that would definitely be a match you'd feel like would get set up to have Camille versus Mickie James Aldis. That would fracture the very foundations of Strictly Business, it feels like. But anyway, anything else you guys wanted to cover today before we wrap this up? People, you gotta tell your favorite wrestlers to get their stuff into Mickie James, because she's put out an open invitation. This is a legend. Dead Lubitz throwing in Mickie versus Ruby Riott. That's a good one. That's not a bad idea at all. So a lot of opportunity out there for folks. Nathan was talking about Deonna's title, by the way. He would never, Rob. He would never try to pit Strictly Business against each other.
I like that. Yeah, Nathan's a gentleman and would never think something like that. And I like how you said against.
Yeah. It's the
just so proper
Canadian.
Yeah.
Anyway, I see Awesome Kong in there. There's so many names and there's so many women out there. I don't know if you guys ever do this, but like sometimes I like, just because of my feed, I see like random wrestlers pop up even in our podcast feed that I've never seen before, like daily. Like I'll just see somebody just show up in the feed. Then I'm like, oh, let me take a look at this person. And you're like, this is pretty incredible. And that's men and women. So there's a lot of people out there right now looking to find their opportunity. When all the people at like AEW and WWE signed up everybody, I'm telling you, the independent scene is as strong as ever. There are people out there that are looking for a place to shine. And NWA could very well be that place, especially at NWA 73 or Powerrr, August 28th and 29th. And then the TV tapings, Wrestling from the Chase on the 30th and 31st. That's going to be pretty darn incredible. Anyway, all right, I'll shut up now. Jedi wants to see Ty Conti versus Sky Blue, and I also want to see that match, Jedi. Just throwing that out there. But anyway, anything else you guys want to say? Sorry. All right, good talk.
No.
Oh, nothing, Will?
What?
I was just going to say it's actually Wrestling at the Chase. There, Gary. This is the preferred nomenclature.
What did I say?
Wrestling from the Chase. I don't know what show that is. That's the off-brand.
That's when you get it on Wish.
Yeah.
Well, it's broadcasting from the Chase. I wasn't trying to.
No. It's okay. Just say you're right. Just say okay. I'm just messing with you, man. But you are wrong. It is Wrestling at the Chase.
I know. Did you just say Wrestling from the Chase just then?
I said Wrestling at the Chase.
Sure you did. Okay. We'll check the tape. Anyway.
roll back the 8mm footage there, Gary. I will. He's rolling it back right now.
I will say this. I got a package. I can't stop messing with this thing. I got a package from Mexico.
Where's this in? It's
going?
Okay.
I don't know who this is from. It was just a package. It was just a plastic bag. Who is this? I know Rob was recently in Mexico. I tried to put it on.
Seen
Rob.
that before.
I tried to put it on. I was going to wear it tonight. This is either made for a child or not a person with a large beard. So it didn't work out.
Okay, so it wasn't just me. I felt bad too. Like I was putting mine on and it got really like the eyes just kind of thinned out around. It was like pulling it back, like. Whoa.
But mine fit just fine, man.
I bet it did. So, but now
it's like it made an actual like mold of my real face in
the back. Rob, tell the story of where you got these. It's cool. You were telling us earlier.
Those are Mask of El Santo, and I found 3 or 4 of them. Sent them to my best friends in the world, to the people that I most admire, and if you know, we did a show on our regular Sunday night show back on This is Pro Wrestling about the greatest masked wrestlers in history, and I think El Santo has a particular affinity for us because of how much we love Gary, and we know Gary loves cinema and cult film and that. And El Santo not only is one of the most historic icons in the history of wrestling, especially in Mexican wrestling as a luchador, he's also a mainstay of the lucha film genre and has battled not only great wrestlers like Mil Mascaras and Shohei Giant Baba and many of the legends. He's also battled Frankenstein and Dracula and werewolves, and he's just a great crossover for us. And I saw these and I looked for them. I couldn't find them. Finally, on our next last night in Tulum, Mexico, I found someone that said, "Hey, I know where I can get some." Went back the next day. He had them, got them, boom, and now we all have El Santo masks. So
yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, when you were telling me you got us something, I was like, man, please be a mask, because I've just always wanted it. So it's really cool. Now I got to get one of those like detached mannequin heads to put it on, so I can keep it and scare the
I'm
crap
excited too. Yeah, I can't wait to display it. I'll never be El Santo, but I could certainly display his mask. I'll be proud to do that. And yeah, it's cool for the movie reasons and the wrestling reasons. As one of the people don't know, man, El Santo was like Hulk Hogan in Mexico. Like he was probably bigger than Hulk Hogan. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But just a big guy. But yeah. Let's see here. Anything else before we finally wrap this thing up? And I will say, Nathan, the one I've always heard is the best was El Santo and the Zombies. So that was it's like El Santo contra Los Zombies or something like that. But that's the one I've always heard was the best. But you'll have to check it out. All right. Well, thank you guys for being here in the chat. We appreciate you. We're grateful for everybody who hangs out in the post show. Sorry I was late getting here. I have a regular job, and that took up my time right beforehand. So thanks to these guys for carrying the show for a little bit there. And we just appreciate everyone and all of you watching NWA Powerrr every Tuesday night at 6:05, then joining us at 7:05-ish. And we'll be right back here next week to do it all over again. We hope you're enjoying NWA Powerrr. Thanks for being a part of the NWA fam. Hashtag NWA fam. And all right. Anyway, we love you guys. And until next time, this was such an awkward ending. I'm so sorry. And especially now that I've made them do their pose and they're just going to hang on.
We have to stand still.
You have to stand still because I say enjoy your gravy cake, and sometimes it cuts us off really quickly. So I'm going to do it now, and we'll see